Christmas is one of my favourite times of year, and it's wonderful and it's magical, but it can also be incredibly stressful, especially for us mums. So I made this video today to give you some lovely tips on how to use the garden to bring joy and wonder into your life this Christmas season. I am Elisabeth, I'm a garden coach. I live in Edinburgh with my two wonderful children, husband and dog, and I love making Christmas wonderful and magical, and I want to share some ideas with you today. We're going to be doing things like making our own wreaths. It's honestly way easier than you think it is. I'm going to be showing you just 3 ways to make your garden really, really lovely this Christmas. I'm going to give you some ideas of how to forage and how to use forage decorations in your home. And I'm also going to give you my list of Christmas questions that I use to help me figure out what it is that's really magical to me and my family, and to help me make that a reality for all of us this Christmas. I can honestly tell you that December is one of my favorite times of year. I love the anticipation for Christmas. It just brings me so much joy. And I love using the garden to help me really build the anticipation for Christmas, especially on a cold and frosty morning like today. It just feels like it really brings the magic to life, don't you think? C.S. Lewis wrote in the Narnia books that it was always winter, but never Christmas. But in the garden, I think we can really make winter and Christmas come together, come to life, and bring so much joy. Whether it's through foraging for Christmas decorations, or by making memories around the fire pit, or my personal favourite, well, maybe not favourite, but something I do every day, having some time to journal in the morning to prepare myself for what really matters, which, amongst other things, of course, is a hug from this little guy. I just think December and the garden are some of the most magical things. Do you agree? One of the things I love to do to get my garden ready for lovely Christmas memories is, of course, prep my fire pit, have it ready so that whenever we feel like having a little bonfire, then we easily can. I created this area, I think it was in October. Before then it was just a dumping ground, but I knew that I wanted somewhere permanent for the fire pit to be. So I created this little area. I've stolen these chairs from the pond viewing platform temporarily, and sitting here by the fire is honestly one of my absolute favorite things to do. And we use it all the time as a family. We use it to make stick bread, just gather around, drink hot chocolate, and just reminisce. I think there's something about gathering around a fire that's just really lovely, and really lovely to create memories with. And I have a tip for you: if you're going to be making hot chocolate, instead of having to run back inside all the time, I often bring out our kind of instant pot or slow cooker and just make it in that, so it stays nice and cozy, so the kids can always come back for more. Another thing I love to do is add lots of lights. You probably won't be surprised to hear that. I've added a lot of lights to our garden, including these little fairy lights here, but I've also added a lot to the pergola, and it just adds a really lovely kind of twinkly and lovely element, so that even just as you look out into your garden from your house, it's just something really lovely and really magical. And I think anything we can do in Christmas time to make everything feel magical has just got to be really lovely, and the kids just absolutely adore it. And the last thing that I always try to do at this time of year is just make sure that there's lots of evergreens in the garden. That could come in many different forms. This is a pittosporum, for example. There's a Muhlenbeckia growing down here, which has taken a bit of a beating from all of our cold weather, but also ivies. I love ivies. And at this time of year, I love heading to the garden centre and just getting a couple of plants to just make everything look really lovely. And heathers and hellebores can be a really, really lovely addition to your garden. Even just planting up a couple of little pots in kind of strategic areas that you're going to see. I just find it really cheers me up to see some life and some loveliness at this time of year. I thought I would do something new for this video today, and I think this is something I'm going to do every video, and it's called Elisabeth Recommends. So every video I will give you a few recommendations of things that I found very helpful, things that have made my life a little bit easier, things that I've really enjoyed, things that my children have really enjoyed, that sort of thing. So let's go. Elisabeth Recommends. So I thought a gardening recommendation would be quite fitting to start us off with. Now I want to make really clear, these are not adverts. I'm not getting paid for these. These are just things that I really enjoy. So if you're looking for a gardening tool to ask for Christmas, a pair of Felco secateurs are really fantastic. I did a certificate in practical horticulture at the Botanics this last year, and Botanics here in Edinburgh, the Royal Botanic Gardens, and everybody there uses these secateurs. So I think that's a pretty good recommendation. And what's really great about them is that if there's ever any issues, you can take them apart, you can completely clean them, you can get replacement parts for all of the bits. So if you're making your Christmas wreath, for example, or trimming things back in the garden, these are absolutely fantastic. Now, something that I got for myself that I absolutely adore are these notebooks by a company called Papier, not sure. What's lovely about them is that you can customize them. So this one has my name on it. You can get them customized. And this one has the word commonplace book on it, as well as my initials. And a commonplace book is a book that you write down kind of things that you want to remember. It's a practice I started a few years ago, so this is my second commonplace book, but it's definitely my prettiest. I just think they're so beautiful, and the quality of these notebooks is gorgeous. So this is my first time I'd ordered from them, but I would fully recommend it. Now, another thing that I've really enjoyed this last month, or rather something that's made mum life a bit less stressful for me, is HelloFresh. I don't know, you've probably heard of them. It's this, you select your meals, or they select them for you, and they send you out everything that you need to make those meals. And, you know, on those busy mum days, I have found them to be really, really helpful. So I'll try and include a code. I think I have a code that means that you can get like your first box for free if you're interested. I'll try and include that in the description box. Now, the last recommendation that I have for you is actually a list of questions that I came up with. And the reason that I came up with these questions is to help me understand what's really important to my children this Christmas time. Like I've said to you before, I love Christmas. It's one of my favorite times of the year, but I want to make sure that what I do and what I organize is also what really is meaningful for my kids and my husband and everybody else in the family. So I came up with a list of questions for me to use. But what I will do is I will write a blog post about this video, and I will include all of the questions in that, so you'll be able to find the link for that in the description box. So you can have access to these questions and ask your children, or even yourself, to see what it is that's really, really meaningful to you for Christmas. So there are 21 of them. I won't read them all out. I'll just read out a couple of them. So what do you love most about Christmas? What is special to you? What's your favourite Christmas memory so far? If you could design the perfect Christmas day, what would it look like? What's your favourite Christmas tradition? Are there any new ones you'd like to start? And then also things like, what's one activity you'd love to do with the whole family this Christmas? If you could bake something together, what would you want to make? If you were to surprise someone else and make their Christmas magical, what would you like to do for them, and who would you like to do it for? So these questions, as I say, there are 21 of them. I didn't read them all out. There are quite a few more. They just kind of get at what is meaningful to you and your family this Christmas, so that you can structure it intentionally and not waste time and energy in this really busy period doing things that aren't actually meaningful to you or your family. So, one really gorgeous way to bring the outside in at this time of year, or to add some decoration to your garden, is to make your own wreath. So these wreaths are super easy to make. This one, in fact, behind me was made by my 8-year-old daughter. The bigger one, which you can't see so well because it's behind the lamp, is one that I made. Now, the way to do this, it's actually really, really straightforward, and you don't need an awful lot to get you going. It's handy to have a wreath base if this isn't something you've done before, but you could make your own out of ivy or something like that. You need some evergreens. These are ones that I've cut. Actually, I've cut these off my Christmas tree because some of the branches were a bit too long. This is some greenery that I foraged from my garden. This is some greenery that my children and I foraged on our last walk. And this is some store-bought eucalyptus. And this is the only greenery that I've bought for the wreath. But I really like it because it adds a really nice touch. So I'm not going to make the whole wreath, but I'm just going to show you kind of how to get started, and I'll start the wreath. So the first thing you want to do is, so you need wire, can't remember if I said this already, a wreath base, or some wire, and some secateurs are really handy for this as well. So the first thing you need to do is actually secure your wire really, really well to your wreath, because this is what's going to hold the whole thing together. Now, what you want to do is you want to make a little bundle of green. So because my wreath base is quite small, I don't want my bundles to be too big, but I like my wreaths to look a little bit wild. So I've got this kind of a little bundle. If you think roughly the size of your hand, a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, depending on the size of your wreath. Then what you want to do is you want to lay it on top of your wreath, and then use your wire to go all the way around several times to really strengthen that hold that you have, because this is really what your wreath is going to be. So the next thing is you just keep going. So it's really, really straightforward. Like I said, my daughter made her own wreath, and it really doesn't take very long. Got a little bundle here, but now I'm thinking it'd be nice to add a little bit of eucalyptus. I'm just going to snip some off. I just think it adds a really, really lovely touch to the whole thing. So this is a really important step. This is maybe, apart from securing your wire really well, this is maybe the most important step. So you want to take your wreath, and this bundle, your new bundle, you want to lay it across where you fixed on your first bundle. This is how you're going to hide the wire. And then you're just going to do the same thing again. You're just going to go all the way around with your wire, got that hooked on, a couple of times, really, really tightly, just to secure your wreath, your greenery onto your wreath. And then let's do one more. You might, I found this was growing, some nice moss was growing on a pavement. You might literally just on the street, you might decide to add a little bit of that because you like it, but I am going for something a bit swooshier. So I'm going to keep going with my greenery. Again, Christmas tree, cut down from the garden, a little bit of foraged wildness. I think this, something I really like about kind of having some branchy bits as well. And because I did eucalyptus in my previous branch, I won't do any in this one. I like to kind of alternate that a little bit. I might also, I haven't done it yet, but I might also cut some bay. That might smell really lovely when it dries. Another thing that smells really lovely is rosemary. If you've got more of it growing in your garden than I do, I don't have that much yet. My rosemary plants are still very young, so I don't want to cut too much off them. But if you had some more mature rosemary plants, then those would be really lovely to cut down. cut forage from a little bit. So this is what we've got so far. I thought I would show you just one or two a little bit closer up so you can see a bit better what I'm doing. So these are, again, a couple of evergreens. I'm going to maybe bulk this one out a little bit more. I like the idea of sometimes varying them a bit. Sometimes they're a bit bigger, sometimes they're a bit smaller, just snipping off something that's about the size that I'm after. I'm going to add some eucalyptus to this one again. So I'm just going to snip it. I'm going to also get tangled up. So this is my little bundle. I'm going to, do you see the join? This is where the wire was from my previous one. So I want to cover that. So I lay this across like that. Have a little play around, make sure that I'm happy. Cover the wire join, and then I'm going to take my little wire bundle. Whilst holding this in place, I am going to wrap my wire really nice and tight around. Do you see that? So this is already half done. So you just need to keep going all the way around, and then what you'll end up with is a wreath that looks a bit like this. As I said, this is one that my daughter made just a couple of days ago. And what we did is once we were done with the main wreath base, you can then add in branches and pine cones and things like that. Once you've gone all the way around and wired everything in, you've got a really secure base, so you can literally just kind of stick things into it and it'll hold it really nicely. And we decided to add a little velvet pink ribbon to it as well. December reminds us that even in the depths of winter, when the days are cold and short, there's so much to celebrate. There's so much joy to be had, and there's so much beauty in the garden. And I just want to thank you for joining me on this video. I hope to see you in the new year when my garden journey continues, and we'll be covering more seasonal things to do for families together. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.